There was a CADRES, and I tell you, it's not a revolution. It was a design revolution that produced the CADRES concept. This is a poem dedicated to the Professor for your hard work, dedication, and loyalty to Young Kenya. Thank you very much. I don't want something. Were you thinking about when you were surprised? You have to be in tune with me. Sorry, December 1981. The airwaves were shook by John Lawrence. For countrymen, also you would have noticed, we are not playing the national anthem because this is only cool. I asked for the revolution, something that transform the social and economic order of this country to reality. When we talk about human rights, we realize human rights are a doomed era till the 24th of September, when the masses producing this world, they could be part and parcel of their decision-making process. Hence, the CDA, the KIDA concept. Put your hands together. Uniform movement, CDA, BBC always become CDA, CDO, Mobisman, etc. Today, we have one organ, United Kenya Front. So if you are in their party and don't give credence to the Kenya board, you are in the darkness. The byproducts of the UCF is the young Kenyans. So we have to give them the necessary respect. According to discipline, and we the Kenyans, we live with discipline. We don't hold a child without discipline. We can work with you. If you remember, you're not disciplined, get out. Because the warnings is a disciplinarian. If from the party is black, and if you don't play the Kenya call and you're not disciplined, walk out. We can work with you. Kenyans may come, Kenyans may go, but the revolution will succeed. Thank you.
To senior CADRES, and then my brothers, and then ladies and gentlemen. When the other speaker was speaking, before the senior CADRES came in, he made mention of some few things that I would like also to add something up to it. Talking about land acquisition, it is not a problem if you want land to do farming within this rate. It is not a problem. The reason that I'm saying it's not a problem is when JM took the mantle, we tried our best to engage all landowners across the country so that at the end of the day, most of the land that is lying fallow, that is nothing on it, we will go to the Lands Commission, register it for the landowners, and then we'll use it for what we want to use for some time. And then when the time is due, and then they want to take their land back, we'll give it to them. That is what the concerned farmers put it on the table. And then the second thing was, he made mention of aquaculture. Aquaculture also is not a problem doing it within this route, especially within the Kwamosu area, because we have the river that flows around. And then with the concerned farmers, our project, we call it One Community, One Dam. And this dam is going to feed the community with fish. Let's say fishery or aquaculture farming. So the river that is there, we don't have a problem when we want to do aquaculture within this area. All that we need to do is to get excavator to do what? To clear or to clean the water, and then we'll just put our fingerlings inside. When we get to a place like Okrakwajo, that side, there's another stream or river that also flows. It is just there like that. We are not benefiting from it, it's just breeding mosquitoes. We can also take that opportunity and then do the aquaculture from that side. Talking about poultry. Poultry is one of the best, I think, decision that this government is taking. Because when doing Don Ramani Mahamad's manifesto, he made mention of Nkukwa-Kitikiti. And this Nkukwa-Kitikiti project has become the love of with the concerned farmers and then even the Poultry Farmers Association of this country. Without Nkukwa-Kitikiti, you will not get Nkukwa-Kisi. So you need to start small and then need to grow to the big. So how can we do this? If we want to get into poultry, we need to do what? Get feed. So with the feed, the main challenge that we have on our poultry sector is maize soya. This has become a challenge, all because the number of farmers in the country, the kind of maize and the soya that they produce cannot feed our poultry sector. So we also have a project which is also in line with this Nkukwa-Kitikiti by enhancing or engaging or supporting these young people to also within the various, you don't need a big place to farm. I am a man for saying, the person be here for, not just for me and me, who in Yasa can see the way you fool. Beba, a friend said, I do grow 15 years again. Said I know, I do grow 15 years. The bed grow. I started my small farm within the house, and I will do a home. We are now in the blender, I blend it in the morning. I started making money from the house. We don't need a big land to start to do all these things. Now, poultry, yeah, go with a Nkukwa-Kitikiti. Now, yes, I saw people say, better yet in your feet. And then they be about top feed the feed. But far, I have a feed factory, a wall, a monochrome. And you can see about the bit of feed nippy with a small scale. All that we need is pellet machine. And this pellet machine will nipple anything. It be a $500. It be a $300. If it be a poor gratis foundation plan on between I build the such machine again. With the farming sector, and I said production, and I said with the manifesto, and I said the policy about media pass as far as agriculture is concerned. A idea, you know, someone, a bit tonight. Avoid now 4 years, person become a OBIT says 4 years, we need a portrait or dog. Any other, I want to get it, what to mean your money. What the branch is from when now, and any year in the book. A book was starting in 1960 and I'm going to wedding, a baby at Tukusia, who you have portrait. And they are here, Manako. Your carpenters be way more, your masons be way more. To say a castle and more structures. This project, we don't have a problem. And then we be the Iska. Maybe I can say, and then we be the Iska. Because I go well over the northern part of the country. You need to fly in the coin. You do one of the Tinan person be done now, maybe. And I'm saying, you go push. Now, I'm in a echo. Nam so what? I don't know, I said, Banasa. I'm ranting and then I'm saying, you're communal. I had the hair and two films to see and be able to have a bottle of the I am name. Interbank said it's Nancy. Emma, yes, if you be the Peace Corps, if you America, who go up as well, no more sit down, no more pinty. I play as everything here. But it is that kind of discipline way back from 79, 80s, while the Rolling Stone, that kind of discipline, everyone. The spirit of the communal labor, a free. Need to meet that kind of spirit in the back of the one. Eugene said, again, yet, I am but it was a program on the other, and you come up. Ye, because ye can say, missing one die and then what's not, if this is here, ye, yes, a bit of wouldn't they tell because clay is seen a woman at a barber die, if this is here, the cook on the woman who's out there. Into dead and see, I must have kind of discipline on acting on railway. It is a project way, yet a tree and also I bed, your best. I buy no care or the reverend for food and jobs. Call Kranako business says, reverend for food and jobs, the coconut and the mountain, then on the air. Bibrina and the young eating. And what position? On what they planted for food and jobs, buy. Your call friend is saying, I'm saying, one of the places I control to be now. Yes, a product animal for even when they come to fertilizer, they don't talk it all because the party number intimidated, but many years ago. But also, now you say we need passion for this job. They won't be for 9 and yes, I buy any sort of no person or yet one guy now. It's a basic. A paper was all because I buy me by and you go see it. It is a full balance or so here. No man can go and yet she say, as a year. Maybe our basis, witnesses, and they are part of those that they build. We are capital betting the common betting no more betting for near any food. And yet, the side of the Mawa, a bear bassa. I'm saying, who said, Pan and yet, also. Come to a man, the young bar. The man and also betting number. It was a 4 year, yet the chef answer, they are not to come kind of change a year member. To Bamchopi, with the aquaculture, a man who rolled a water plane, Mutia Yeba, ye and Namunia, and Namunia, as I see a honor. Yahona, as I see a package. We say for Phobia or Nigeria, even London this year. A month for pay, a friend is a catfish. Atop. Now, the way you better catfish are a very big delicacy. But how to process it has become a problem. Maybe I need to food packaging and processing. But you might be fish. Now, so one when fish is a few of my packaging and my top. To me, my job, make a salary, but the maker now said, a 4 year, so we need passion for it. Now, we will be before it, I'm a program that is successful. Young told that to I myself, father, I need to be more. No more person to be a full year, your mom, near Yanisa, you need to know. If you say, some project, say, you're doing we, 24 years, nobody proposes a but you say, the 24 vessel, because never will bring another person here for this asset, necessary says, all one, so now we are full. Who bet me up to be said, you will grow to make a machine. Our assassin is our the year say, you see a knife for, you see that anyone go for. Building up touch houses, it will not even cost 5,000 citizens. Dr. Danny, you see that your boss it will be 5,000. Until the proposal will go, say, CADRES, the person said, we are putting houses within the various farming communities. Our young people to marry, it may be a data, and a year, which is a little bit to your because we need a bit of so you might find it more better. You to make my untold story. But I myself, I said, at the age of 60, I'll be a farmer. And I had that vast land over there. And today I'm 60. And I want to be a farmer. So today I'm happy to have this able man to assist me to achieve my goals. And then I have the past and my second name, and you to how I say, I don't know. I'm one number. Because when you're a Muslim, through our brother, I'm into farming now. So please get on board. So thank you so much, my able man. That's the Egypt and my now, may I find short. It's underway actually. Management team on by responsible at the regional in the constituency level
on making sure that break in the work His Excellency between our box and our assistant. Na muhia bibia mo be ko mo be assassin no irrigation production whatsoever na bibia akopepebe na ade ba kwa person oti asem say oh my Ghana Africa your priorities are most of the time na ayira to say yemfa an area to say mechanic you mechanics adentia because if you say it to my basa then so car now to no mechanic na ye na one ko bi o ni papa amana yes aka na any better as well life the same way agree ubeti ya wodan when you dia what happens so without food we cannot survive we need food we need clean water. We need all these things. And then I hear about and it makes a lot. When you control food, you control people. When you control water, you control people. But so my own thing is an industry for a specific people. Our own school. But when we say we have business first degree. And I'm here agri administration, second degree, resource economics option. I really understand this whole process possible. And it's one of the areas that we can correction when we come home. Now taking it personal, what will be difference with us?
The mechanic said, what will be we said, it will make a 24-hour economy. But you have a stress of why I said, you might yes, so anyway, said, sexual brand, say, we are ready for it. Therefore, we prepare already in the portrait, maybe a bakery, maybe a so I signed up for so we're going to have UCFF. United Kenya Front Farms. I want to go away individual ones, so we go on. And say, farmers, now, any with a way. Thank you so much.
Yes. And then the say, Nanka program, say, Mr. Etiabeka, Nanka program, we starting with free love. Omami ko law for Kohun and Fufoni they are ready to Mikoboga, they are ready to but as I said, free istinity. I am assuming free istinity. The CDN program and starting for East, but the best starting the ideas to say Brother also or in support of the same program. It's a strength here at around say, woman yelling break. Now, yes, starting program way back. Last year, Dr. Hall, they can say, we are interested in offering the Emma, Mr. Atmako. But indeed, he said, why? This is the aspect of the agriculture. So we interest for maize farming, culture, Faudima, Mr. Agmako. They can say you are interested in maize farming, a crop farming. You understand? So open poultry, so open agriculture. The number of people are more. No more poultry, and no more people are more agriculture. Now he is starting work and still with a mass.
Just with your UCF members. And Mr. Jacob, I will take you from that.
CADRES.
Organize.
The Pamuchonia every time. Yet the Asadabama, chairman. So I won't papa, I can do it. It's no muscle. We are able to so. yɛde bɛma yɛn agya no mu a wɔfiri different constituencies baa ha a wɔne yɛbɛdi ntam ho ama yɛhu sɛ ɛyɛ agribusiness wode ho hyɛ mu a wotumi ayɛ CEO of yourself mesrɛ mo mma yɛwɔ a youth sɛ adwuma yi ɛyɛ papa ma yɛ moma yɛ nso yɛnyɛ yie mɛgya no mɛgyina youth a ɛwɔ ɛkɔpɔ constituency aka ahyɛ mu sɛ yɛdama papaapa nyame nhyira mo bibia a wɔasɛ mo mmerɛ mu bibia no awurade nhyira mu ma mo morekɔ yi nso yɛ mpaebɔ sɛ awurade de mbɔ akɔdo fie asomdwee mu adekye na sɛ baasa asɔre no ɛrekɔ 4:30 a na ɛyɛ kɔpɔn constituency CADRES ɛne yɛda mo ase yɛka ne sɛ yɛda mo ase papaapa awurade nka mo
obi sɛ masate mahyew nkɔfo bi bɛboa ayɛwa na ebi baabi no na sikasɛm no ayɛ de kakra ɔmo sɛ ɔmo ni sika nti ɔmo tumi gyina business no ɛyɛ very complex situation because nipa no ɛde sika ahyɛ na nti to some extent ɔwɔ equity in the business so we need to assess the business very well and find out whether the person is still interested in the business or it's just walking away for the thing to belong to you, and then we can look at it. But again, funding is going to be available, but of course, we will look at all these situations, but there are different situations, and see how we can provide the funding. Me and Grammy, machine really, I'm a small machine where I want to do every breakfast. So I'm very interested in machine funding. So we can have a very good conversation on this. But we need to understand the equity in the business and how we can come into coming out. Because at the end of the day, if we are providing you with funding, we have to make sure that the money is paid over a period. So what's the difference? So we need to understand the equity argument. Then we come. I think so that's all I have for now. Okay.
Has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Oh, CADRES may come, CADRES may go, but the revolution has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Oh, CADRES may come, CADRES may go, but the revolution has come to stay. Revolution has a long way to go, but has come to stay. You may have your seat. Thank you so much. Put your hands together. We speak like prophets for me today. Great, great, you see has a long way to go, but has come to stay. The great you see has a long way to go, but has come to stay. Members may come and then they go. Members may come, members may go, but the great you see has come to stay. The great you see has a long way to go, but has come to stay.
Those of you who have not been attending functions nationwide, this is our anthem. This is the CADRES anthem. The rebel is for the revolutionary anthem. And those of you who have been going out with me to programs outside, you see that whenever I want to provoke the spirit of the revolution, the great you see there has a long way to go, has come to stay. The great
There was a CADRES, and that CADRES is not a revolution. It was a revolution that produced the CADRES concept. This is a poem dedicated to Dr. Tumesi for your hard work, dedication, and loyalty to young Kenya. Thank you very much. I don't want to. When you thinking about it, you were surprised. You have to be in tune with me. Sorry, December 1981. The airwaves were shook by John Lawrence. For countrymen, also you will have noticed, we are not playing the national anthem because this is not a coup. I asked for the revolution, something that transforms the social and economic order of this country to reality. When we talk about human rights, we realize human rights are a doomed era till the 24th of September, when the masses of this world, they could be part and parcel of their decision-making process. Hence, the CDR, the KIDA concept. Put your hands together. Youth war movement, CDR, PDC, always become CDR, CDO, Mobisman, etc. Today, we have one organ, United KIDA Fund. So if you are in their party and don't give credence to the KIDA board, you are in darkness. The byproducts of the UCF is the young cadres. So we have to give them the necessary respect, accord them the discipline, and we the cadres, we live with discipline. We don't hold a child without discipline. We can work with you. If you're a member, you're not disciplined, get out. Because the Rollins is a disciplinarian. We form the party with his blood. And if you love the Kenya core and you're not disciplined, walk out. We can work with you. Kenya may come, Kenya may go. But the revolution will succeed. Thank you.
To senior CADRES, and then my brothers, and then ladies and gentlemen. When the other speaker was speaking, before the senior CADRES came in, he made mention of some few things that I would like also to add something up to it. Talking about land acquisition, it is not a problem if you want land to do farming within this rate. It is not a problem. The reason that I'm saying it's not a problem is when JM took the mantle, we tried our best to engage all landowners across the country so that at the end of the day, most of the land that is lying fallow, that is nothing on it, we will go to the Lands Commission, register it for the landowners, and then we'll use it for what we want to use for some time. And then when the time is due, and then they want to take their land back, we'll give it to them. That is what the concerned farmers put it on the table. And then the second thing was, he made mention of aquaculture. Aquaculture also is not a problem doing it within this region, especially within the Kwamosu area, because we have the river that flows around. And then with the concerned farmers, our project, we call it One Community, One Dam. And this dam is going to feed the community with fish. This is a fishery or aquaculture farming. So the river that is there, we don't have a problem when we want to do aquaculture within this area. All that we need to do is to get excavator to do what? To clear or to clean the water, and then we'll just put our fingers inside. When we get to a place like Okapoto, that side, there's another stream or river that also flows. It is just there like that. We are not benefiting from it, it's just breeding mosquitoes. We can also take that opportunity and then do the aquaculture from that side. Talking about poultry. Poultry is one of the best, I think, decision that this government is taking. Because when doing John Dramani Mahamad's manifesto, he made mention of Nkukwa Kitikiti. And this Nkukwa Kitikiti project has has become the love of with the concerned farmers and then even the Poultry Farmers Association of this country. Without a Akoko Ketekete, you will not get Akoko Kese. So you need to start small and then you need to grow to be big. So how can we do this? If we want to get into poultry, we need to do what? Get feed. So with the feed, the main challenge that we have on our poultry sector is maize, soya. This has become a challenge, all because the number of farmers in the country, the kind of maize and the soya that they produce cannot feed our poultry sector. So we also have a project which is also in line with this by enhancing or engaging or supporting these young people to also within the various. You don't need a big place to farm. I had a man for saying, if I said, "Be for now, just phone up here in Minias." Who in Yasa can see the way you fool? Beba, a friend is saying, Educo 15 years ago. Said I know can be Educo 15 years. The bed Educo. I started my small farm within the house, and I would do a we are now in the blender, I blended a year morning. I started making money from the house. We don't need a big land to start to do all these things. Now, poultry is yeah, go with a book. Now, yes, I so feel say, better yet in your feet. And yet, they are about top feed the feed, but over I have a feed factory, a wall, a monocle. And you can see about the bit like feed nippy with a small scale. All that we need is pellet machine. And this pellet machine will nipple anything. It be a $500, it be a $300. If you have a practice foundation plan, which I build the such machine with the farming sector, and I say production, and I say with the manifesto, and I say the policy about media pass as far as agriculture is concerned. I so one, a bit up why you now 4 years, President Kama will be at says a 4 year, we need a portrait or dog. Any other, what to be there. What the branches from when now, and any year in the book. I could go starting in 90 and I got ready, a baby in a Tunisia, who have portrait, and the year Monaco. Your carpenters be way more, your masons be way more. To say, I can't say a number of structures. Nay, they are yet this project. We don't have a problem. And yet, be behind the Iska. Maybe I can say, and yet be behind the Iska. Because I go well the northern part of the country. We need to fly in the coin. You do one of the it's not person be German now, baby. And I'm saying, push. Now, I'm in a echo. Nam so what? I didn't say, but I'm ranting at it, and then I'm saying, you're communal. I had the hair and two films to see and be able to have a bottle of the I am a name. In Japan, said it's nothing. Emma, yes, if you be the Peace Corps, if you America, who go on so I'm sit down, no more pinty. I can say everything I but it is that kind of discipline way back from 79, 80s, while doing the Rolling Stone, how few want that kind of discipline everyone. The spirit of the communal labor, a free need to meet that kind of spirit in the back of the one. But you say, again, yet, it was a program on the other, and you come on. Ye never be because you can't say missing who won't die and then now. If this is here, ye has a way to buy. Wouldn't they tell because clay is seen a woman at a barber die, if this is here. The book only will move into dead and see, I must have kind of discipline on acting right we are. It is a project we get a 2 years of I bed, the best. I buy no care or the reverend for food and jobs by call Kanako business reverend for food and jobs. The book only them out, then on the air. The Brina and the young Italy and what position. On what they planted for food and jobs, your friend is saying, I'm saying, one of the places I got church will be now. Give me a broad amount of even when they come and put fertilizer, they don't talk it all because the party number it may change, but many years. But also, Now you say we need passion for this job. They won't be for 9 and yes, I buy any sort of no person or yet one guy I need now. In some cases, a paper will see for all because I buy me by and will go see it. It is a full balance or so here. Moment can go and yet she say, as a year. Maybe our basis, witnesses, and they are part of those that they build. We are capital, the common veterinarian, no more veterinarian for near any food. And yet, the Mawa, a bear bazaar. I'm saying, I was a man and also. Come to a man, the young bar. The man and also veterinarian. It was a 4 year, the chef answer, they are not two kind of change a year, member. To come trophy with the aquaculture, a man who roll up the plane, Mutia Yiba, Ye and Namunia, and Namunia, as I see a Honam. Yahonam, as I see a package. We say for Phobia, Nigeria, even London this year, a month for pay, a friend is a catfish, atop. Not the wafer, the better Yahoo. Catfish are a very big delicacy. But how to process it has become a problem. Maybe I need to food packaging and processing. But you maybe fish. Now, so one fish is a few of one of my name, my packaging and my tongue. To me, I'm sure, make a salary, but the maker now said, a 4 year, so we need passion for it. Now, we saw will be before it, I'm a program that is successful. Young told that to me, and myself, I need to be more. No more person to be a full year. If you say, some project say, you're doing the 40 nobody propose a part, didn't say, the 24 peso, because never bring another person here for this as a necessary says, oh, one so now we are for who made to baby said, you will grow to make a wish. Our assassinate the honor. The year say, you see a time for, you see that the man go for. Building up touch houses, it will not even cost 5,000 citizens. Dr. Danny is in a Boswa, it will be 5,000. Until the proposal will go, say, CADRES, the FSA said we are putting houses within the various farming communities. Our young people in Nigeria, it will be a yada, and a yefua, we give this a little bit in Aqua. Because we need a big and so you might find a more ready, which may be a dancer.
My untold story. But I myself, my life said, at the age of 60, I'll be a farmer. And I had that class man over there. And today I'm 60. And I want to be a farmer. So today I'm coming to ask this able man to assist me to achieve my goals. And then I have the past and my second name, Mama. Can you put most of my and to you to know how I say, I don't know. I'm one number. Because when you're a Muslim, through our brother, I'm into farming now, so please get on board. So thank you so much, my able man.
That's why you need to now, may I short? It's underway actually. Management team on by responsible at the regional in the constituency level. On making sure that break in the work His Excellency between our box and our session. Omuna Muhia be a mobile assassin, irrigation, production, whatsoever. Now, be a now, I never have a person of tears and say, oh my Ghana, Africa, your priorities are most of the time, you know. Now, I to say, you find an area to say mechanic. You mechanics are in here because if they say to my basa, then so can't out a mechanic in the year. Now, one could be one year, Papa, Amana, yes, I can, and then the better. That's what I say for life. The same way, I think, what happens? So without food, we cannot survive. We need food, we need clean water, we need all these things. And then and it makes a lot. When you control food, you control people. When you control water, you control people. so tie no ase so do my you say an industry for a specific people go school ni market na but when say me agribusiness first degree and I'm here agri administration second degree resource economics option. I really understand this whole process possible, and it's one of the areas that they come correction when you come home. Now taking it personal, what will be difference with us?
And I can't say, better for us. Said, what will be, let me say, it will make us better on my 24-hour economy. I'm going to be a center for you. Now I tell you, my there's so I already said that sexual brand, say we are ready for it. Therefore, we prepare already in the portrait and it be a big cream, it be a down. The way also signed up for so we are going to have UCFF, United Kingdom Front Farms. What ones away individual ones so we go and say farmers now can you be the way thank you.
CADRES and then the say Nanka program we say Mr. Etiabeka Nanka program we starting with free love or Mami go love for and if you they are ready to. With Oboga, they are ready to. But as I said, all free is stimulating. I am assuming free is stimulating. The program we starting for East, but the best starting Waha. The many ideas to say, brother, also. Or in support of the same program. It's a strength here at around say, woman in break. Now, yes, starting program way back. Last issue of Dr. Howard, they can say, we are interested in often the Emma, Mr. Atmako. But indeed, he said, why? May strength. This is here, aspect of the agriculture. So we interest for maize farming, culture, Faudima, Mr. Adma, Negajan said, you are interested in maize farming, a crop farming. You understand? So open poultry, so open agriculture. I said, the number of people are more crop. No more people are more poultry, and no more people are more agriculture. Now he is starting work. I'm still with a mass.
Just your UCF remembrance. I will take your number.
CADRES.
Organize.
The Pamuchonia anytime. Yet the Asadabama, chairman. So our Pama, I can to into a muscle. We are able so. Yet the Bama, Januma will feed different constituencies. Baha, when you live in town. I'm a young say, agribusiness, what do you show? I want to be a CEO of yourself. Mr. My youth, said to make a papa, my own so Medal, Medina youth, and a work of constituency. As I said, my papa, young Shram, we are my son, we are eradication, mamma. More so, the empire won't say, eradicate.
Committing themselves to civil rights, the new government.
Good morning.
1969.
This marriage chapter is not only a guide to those who lead our nation in government.
Notice, Lieutenant General Sheriff Ekofo.
Public in an attempt to make scapegoats of Rawlings and his men.
For the first time in Ghana, a group of junior army officers had attempted to
country. After 3 months, they handed over to a civilian government under Hilal Liman.
I will set the appropriate examples myself from big parliament is dissolved. See, terror has come into being in this country. Supposed to be 24.
Of the free maternity care for our women. Late President knew those good job.
Welcome to United CADRES on TV. In the light of the massive electoral defeat of the NPP at the polls of 2024 general elections and the massive unprecedented victory of the NDC, certain ideas and certain implications and meanings can be derived because of what has happened on the part of the masses of Ghana and the people in political authority. Now, over here with me, we have Dr. Ahaji of the School of Social Democracy, which is the NDC's political philosophy school. And he's going to explain to us what the meanings of the massive rejection, vehement removal from office by the people of Ghana, and the massive endorsement of the NDC government means for the people of this country. Now,
Doctor, we have here a situation that we need social democratic principles to explain. So, welcome to United CADRES Fund TV. Can you please explain to us what has happened in these just ended general elections?
Thank you very much, and thank you for this invitation to have this discussion. First of all, the electoral outcome is an expression of the citizens of Ghanaians against a government that was not acting according to their expectations. The economic policies that were introduced and implemented by the outgoing government did not improve the living conditions of the citizens of Ghana. Indeed, they worsened the citizens' living conditions. The citizens also saw in the outgoing government certain elements of indiscipline, arrogance, and corruption and incompetence. They also saw that the government was not honest in any information it put out. It wasn't transparent, and worst of all, it didn't submit itself to account to the people for the way they were managing the public resources. You would recall that the president had made a commitment, President Akufo-Addo had made a commitment that he was going to protect the public purse. What we have seen over the period, and indeed what Ghanaians have seen over the period, is rather wanton dissipation of public resources, and indeed there are jokes that they actually even stole the public purse. Now, it also emphasizes and indeed manifests the provision in our national constitution that state power derives from the sovereign will of the people. As a government, you are entrusted with a mandate for a period, and during that period, you are expected to act in response to the expectations of the people who gave you the mandate. We didn't see that from the NPP. We saw cases of corruption, appropriation of public wealth for only a small number of people. It was very elitist in the way it conducted itself. That is different from what social democratic principles stand for. And as a social democratic party, if you look at our constitution, the party's constitution, Article 5, you will find it written there, and indeed the party adopted social democracy at its 2002 Congress, and that was included in the party's constitution. And it states, I'm not quoting verbatim though, but it states that the philosophy of the National Democratic Congress is that of social democracy, which believes in an egalitarian treatment of everyone, irrespective of your beliefs, your religion, your social status, your educational background, and your cultural beliefs in a multi-party environment. So if you see Article 5 of the NDC Constitution, you see that. What that means essentially is that ordinarily a social democratic party should not discriminate against you because you live in a rural area or because you came from a certain background. It should promote basically inclusiveness in public decision making. So that's the definition of social democracy as captured in the constitution of the NDC. But social democracy as an ideology is also important in many ways. It is, for those who understand that, it is a way of capturing political power and using that power to act in the interest of the ordinary people, to reform the system and ensure that development is inclusive. Development and the outcomes of development will be equitably
distributed to everyone. So basically, as a social democratic party, our core values allow us to respond to the needs of the people over whom we govern, or the people who entrust us with the mandate to govern. If you breach that, if you don't act in accordance with their expectations, what has happened to NPP would happen to any political party.
Yes, thanks. And can you briefly explain some of the core principles of social democracy as we know it? Probity, accountability, transparency, social justice, and the like, which the people were expecting from the ruling class of the outgoing NPP government, which they didn't get, or which they just angrily threw them out.
Yes. The core values of social democracy revolve around these. They look like they are universal principles, but they are more related to our philosophy and what we believe in. The first one, maybe we can talk about, is that assertion of people's rights to free speech, to free association, to actually free movements, basically, beliefs and etc. Freedoms are guaranteed by constitutions, but they are also core values for social democracy. So you will not find a social democratic government creating a culture of silence among journalists, for instance, or people. If you criticize the government, then you're either going to lose your life or you'll be attacked. Or, for instance, our current president said he was going to use the ANAS principle, which largely means investigative journalism and bringing out the wrongdoings by people entrusted with power. He committed to doing that when he was campaigning. He promised to do that when he was campaigning, that he was going to use that principle of holding people to account, but he won elections on the back of that. And anytime his government, the feet of his government is held to the fire, those who did that had a lot of problems. Social democratic governments will not prevent you from expressing your criticisms of government policies or the way things are going. We also believe that resources of the state must be equitably shared. You don't use people. You don't grow the national wealth on the back of taxes that everyone pays, direct and indirect taxes. And when they produce national wealth, the distribution is skewed in favor of only one group. The principles of equity require that you must fairly distribute the result of people's work, the contributions people make to national wealth. For instance, if there are disadvantaged areas, you would so distribute national resources in a manner that they would get their fair share of what is there, what they have helped in generating. But we have situations where governments, and particularly this NPP government, accumulates national wealth and uses it in their strongholds. You find the president of the republic saying that you didn't vote for me, and so you are not going to get any resources. That is in violation of the principle of fairness and accountability. And so, yes, you must be accountable to the people who entrust you with the power, but you also have to be transparent in the way you manage public resources. There's too much opacity in the way this government has operated. Social democratic governments are not allowed to do that. The principles, the core values do not permit you to be so opaque in the way you manage public resources that people begin to suspect that you are doing the wrong things. And indeed, we've seen that because we have people steal public monies and put it under their beds. And then the president comes to defend them. If you do that as a social democratic government, you are breaching the core values. There are issues about justice, social justice. There's fairness in in administering justice, which becomes part of, or if you like, one of the core values of social democracy. Now, if you don't do that, what you are doing is that you are punishing, you are administering justice in an equal manner. When a less powerful person commits an offense, the person is sentenced to, is punished heavier than those who wield power or those who have connections to sources of political power. That is not fairness in the administration of justice. So a core value is fairness in social justice. And then the issue about integrity or probity. When you're holding public office, it's expected of you to be honest in the management of the resources entrusted to you. Your integrity is important because you need to accept the fact that you are performing a responsibility on behalf of the people. It's an agency responsibility, and therefore you owe it a responsibility to the people who are entrusted with the power to be fair in the way you manage their resources, and you should not be seen to be wrongly using the resources. You can't say, well, they asked Dr. Baumia, what is the biggest project you did in the northern section? He said, we have done the Pualugu Dam. We can beat our chest in saying that we've done the Pualugu Dam. That represents an integrity deficit, because a couple of years later, he was asked about the same Pualugu Dam, and he said that, oh, that is going to be one of our biggest projects once I assume office as president. Now that issue of integrity deficit, that issue of, violating the principles of truth is not a core value of social democracy. In other words, when you are holding office as a social democratic party member, you are expected to be honest in your dealings and in the management of public resources. Otherwise, then the issue about accountability would catch up with you when the people think that you are not honest in the management of the resources they've entrusted to you. Yeah, so what are the typical mechanisms that social democratic governments use to measure the accountability principle for their officers? It comes in the form of institutions' own guidelines as to how resources are managed. We know about audit processes, we know about disbursement processes, we know about the issues about how you use the resources entrusted to you. Those ones are standard, but there are institutions as well that, for instance, the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, there are independent constitutional bodies, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the security agencies, and indeed the judicial system. Those are institutions that should ensure that office holders are held accountable. Even with the public service, there are rules of engagement which would prevent you or which direct you to conduct yourself in a manner that would not raise issues about your management of the resources or your mismanagement of the resources. Indeed, the release of funds annually is linked to the way you manage the previous year's resources that have been approved by Parliament for you. So Parliament itself holds office holders to account. But we operate a system where the institutions have been weakened, and particularly under this government, they have been weakened by excessive politicization. And so office holders are beholden to the president. They are basically trying to please the president, and therefore they are culpable to pressure from the presidency to do this or do that, and they fund this program and don't fund this program. And the multiplicity of institutions that have been created by the government has given room for corruption. You have ministries, and yet there are other institutions that are performing the roles that the ministry should perform. So the issue about accountability has been violated. Under the NDC administration, I recall that President Mills held interactions with the press on a regular basis. Similarly, President Mahama also did that. So it was a way of accounting to the people about how you are administering the country. That regular interaction with the press on behalf of the people gave people an indication and indeed an insight into how government was managing the resources. Now, we need to return to those ways of letting people know that we are accounting for the resources given to us. And it's one of the reasons why accountability is one of the pillars of the incoming NDC government. If you see our manifestos, you will see that the headline is jobs, accountability, and prosperity. You cannot prosper a country if you are not accountable for the resources that you are entrusted with. So, yes, the institutions of state will be strengthened. We will reduce the multiplicity of institutions, and will ensure that the rules of engagement, the guidelines, and the systems that are introduced would control mismanagement of public resources. Yeah, maybe you also have to explain some more. Looks like the area of transparency and accountability are linked in a way. But if, for example, the people want to know what you are doing as a government, with the principles of probity and accountability and then transparency. The idea of transparency is letting people know all through, the scope of work. That this is the way it was done, this is the amount of money spent, and so forth. In the light of this Rights to Information Day and our own principle of transparency, probity, and accountability, what do you think the government will have to do to, let people know the full scope of how work is done in a very transparent manner? Yeah, there are rules about even, let's take procurement, public procurement. And government is the largest procurement agency in the country. The Public Procurement Act stipulates how you can actually invite people to bid for projects. The essence is that you are looking for the best evaluated bid. In other words, you are looking for value for money. And so if you follow the procurement rules as stated in the law, you are ensuring that there's an efficient use of public financing, public resources. Now, there's also technology that you can leverage to ensure that the processes of awarding contracts and the payments are so open that anybody who wants to have access to what was spent for a particular project can have access to it online. There's nothing, it was started, the Gift Mix project that was started in our time during the PNDC, the NDC era, made it possible for chief executives to go through the process of letting the public know that even the payment is not between the chief executive and the contractor. The payment is so centralized that you can, once you have completed your task and you submit your report, the processes of payment will begin and everybody can have access to it. We can introduce technology into the management of public resources. And then you can also, as happens with the annual audit, you can then be able to, the reports of the audits are presented to Parliament and they are discussed openly. But we have a situation where the procurement process is abused and there's sole sourcing, which means that you don't open it up so that you can get the best value for your procurement. And those are things that we have to return to as a social democratic party, because they form the bedrock of ensuring accountability. And of course, your integrity is also part of it, or probity is part of the management of public funds. And so our financial management system would be one of the bases on which we would build the accountability mechanism, so that at least the limited resources available to the government will be effectively used and we get value for money. Yes. So in this respect, what we advise we do differently, because there are several cases we can point to where the process of accountability, institutions that are supposed to hold people to account have found them guilty and have made recommendations, and yet they were just ignored. Right? We've got social ones like the Ayawaso Wagon shootings. There were recommendations made, nothing has been done. We got recommendations made by the ombudsman, the special prosecutor, and then nothing has been done. Even in the case of the outgoing MPP president, you have him clearing the person before even national security or any other body has done anything. So that institutions are there, all right, and yet it's just like, well, let them talk and go away. Yeah, indeed, as we said from the beginning, it is the reason why the MPP has been so badly and so vehemently rejected, because they took it for granted that citizens are not discerning enough to notice that there are clear violations. It shouldn't even lie in the mouth of the president to indicate that, oh, the other power will be cleared. No, it shouldn't. It should allow the justice system, the accountability processes to run, and then the outcome will be made public. Now, there's that part of it, of his penchant for clearing people, and indeed you know that he was labeled as a clearing agent. He almost immediately comes to the defense of people who have been found to have misconducted themselves or have indulged in corrupt actions. So that's number one. Number two is enforcement. We need to enforce the recommendations and outcomes of investigations by commissions and committees of inquiry. And that responsibility, in fact, the bulk stays at the door of the president, particularly because if he sets up the commission and once they drop a report on his table, it is incumbent upon him to ensure that those recommendations are enforced, particularly given the caliber of people who made the recommendations and the neutrality of those people that he himself put together. Now, any office holder who refuses to ensure that justice is done is himself showing that he is either extremely incompetent or is biased in favor of people he believes should be cleared. Now, if you show that level of bias, if you show that level of incompetence, the people who have suffered, the people whose relatives have suffered, will be watching you and they will punish you at the polls because they are the power holder. He was holding the hand of his successor all over the place, indicating that I'm going to hand over power to his successor, Dr. Baumia. He didn't have that power, and he ought to have known that he didn't have that power at all. But the people, the citizens of Ghana, have made it clear to him that he did not have that power to decide who should come after him. So enforcement is important. Avoiding pronouncements that would seem to establish that the people are innocent until proven guilty, which is a reversal of the principle. The person should be considered innocent the people are not guilty and that should be proved. It's wrong. That's his approach that, oh, well, I think they are not guilty, and so go and establish the guilt. No, that's not the way it works. Well, you keep quiet, and let's assume that they are innocent, and then let the processes, the legal processes, the administrative processes establish the person's innocence. That's the best way to do it. But that approach to account, you will notice that when he was in government, His Excellency John Mahama had the strength, the moral strength to prosecute his own appointees, and he has indicated that you had better not come into my administration with the intention of mismanaging or stealing public property or public resources, because the weight of the law would fall on you. It can't be me. I'm not going to act as a clearing agent. So those principles those core values are important in our next administration. But there are a number of other things that convert into the policies that we make. For instance, the issue about protecting workers. We introduce policies that would give workers the opportunity to unionize and negotiate their conditions of work. It progressively improve their conditions of work. So that's a very important principle in social democracy, that workers must be allowed to earn decent living through unionization and negotiations of better conditions of work. We have principles that allow us to introduce policies that promote equity. For instance, we would either reduce the market price of fertilizer or agricultural inputs, or we would even give that free to to some farmers, so that they can increase their productivity and earn income, disposable income. So our core values and principles translate into the policies that we work with. We believe in public-private partnership. You cannot leave the provision of major national infrastructure in the hands of the private sector, because they are largely committed to what we call rent-seeking behavior, or wanting to make excessive profit. And so government steps in to provide some of these key infrastructure, road infrastructure, hospital, school infrastructure, and then it moderates the cost of the infrastructure to ordinary people. Imagine you leave the construction of roads in the hands of the private sector. They will build the roads, they will toll it because they want to collect their money and go back. But the social democratic principle of public-private partnership allows government to work with the private sector to provide key infrastructure, social housing, affordable housing, roads that will not be built based on only the returns of investment. For instance, roads to farming communities, smaller roads to farming communities, or otherwise, if you have the private sector to do that, then he's going to put that on the road, and those who transport goods, market from the farm to the market, will be experiencing higher costs. Now, that would not work for ordinary people. There are several of them. Electricity provision. Yes, the state has to extend it. We extended electricity to Afram Plains in the past without talking about economic rate of return for the provision of the electricity. What has that done? Over the years, it has generated small and micro enterprises, fish processing, refrigeration, and that has also improved local economies and created local economic development. So some of those infrastructure provisions require partnering with the private sector to provide that, and not leaving all of that to the private sector. Maybe the other one that I can say is about standards. You need to regulate the kinds of things that are brought in, and social democratic principles require that you set the standard so that people don't bring in cheap goods that can have socially undesirable outcomes. For instance, they bring drugs, fake drugs, and sell the fake drugs to ordinary people. Typically, when things like this happen, it's the ordinary people who suffer. And so you need to regulate that so that they don't bring in goods. They pay their taxes all right, but they are killing the people who are providing taxes. So there are different ways of ensuring that once you are in power, your policies should reflect your social democratic principles. Yes, now, since you have mentioned the public-private partnership in providing utility activities like the roads and water supply and so forth, there is a crucial element that we have now. The massive rejection of the NPP government was by largely youth. And their main problem was jobs, jobs, jobs. We are unemployed, and others, mind you, others have given up already. They are leaving the country, they say there's no hope. They are living in droves, health center, ordinary people, and so forth. Everybody's saying there's no hope. You see, so, and those who are left here, those who intend to stay, are the ones who are asking for jobs and employment and income. Now, in what ways, maybe within the social democratic framework, would you advocate that the government devises something in its own promise of the 24-hour economies and job for youth and in the agri sector and interventions and so forth? In what ways would you advise that they, craft and carry this out? Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the 24-hour economy. The structure of our economy has remained the same, and indeed, if you look at the population growth rate, it's frightening because it has created a situation where there's massive youth unemployment, and indeed it's in response to that. We have a youth bulge. If you look at our demographic structure, there's a huge number of people who are unemployed. And therefore, one of the key considerations, one of the key problems, as you mentioned, is the fact that there are no jobs. Indeed, the rates of job creation has been very, very, very low, very slow. And so you need to introduce a new approach to ensuring that the youth can get employed. And it is on account of that President has introduced the 24-hour economy policy. It is as has been said all over, it's a game changer because it creates opportunities for, if we were hiring maybe 30 people, it can create opportunity for us to increase that by 3. But that's not just for the existing companies. Indeed, we notice that many of the companies or the manufacturing entities are suffering from undercapacity utilization because of the lack of taxes that they are paying by this government, because of the high cost of utilities, and so it has reduced their profit margins, if they even make any profit at all, and then it has reduced the opportunities for them to hire additional people. Now, the 24-hour economy policy is essentially an instrument that will improve the productivity of the manufacturing sector currently, but it will also expand manufacturing. It will create linkages with other sectors as well, the service sector and the agri sector. And if you get into the details, you will notice backward and forward linkages between the manufacturing sector and the agri sector. It will improve the outcomes of many of the sectors, and indeed it will produce enough goods for export. And obviously an export-driven economy would be better than an economy that depends on debt or borrowing now, or taxation to improve the stability of this currency. If we export more, you get returns in form of, and this can show up your foreign exchange and your currency. It will improve agricultural production in many, many ways, value addition at that level. And so at any point in the chain, the value chain, there will be opportunities as well. We are talking about the security services where you can increase the numbers because people's businesses in the night have to be protected. We are talking about lighting up the streets. We are talking about using technology to move resources back and forth. But there is also the issue about the National Apprenticeship Program. This is also another important policy that will equip the youth with employable, self-employable skills. Not necessarily them going to look for work, but essentially it will be a modular training program. You can go for 6 months, you can go for 3 months in a specialized area, and you can come back for the next module and improve yourself and get eventually certificated. But during that process, as you acquire the employable skill, you can still be doing vulcanizing, you can be doing dressmaking, and then you can go back to the institutions and get that. But what that means is that you don't necessarily have to be sending your CVs around and looking for work. You can create work. And part of that also involves supporting you after training with some resources for you to be able to establish your small enterprise. It can come in the form of facility, it can come in the form of tools and equipment that you can use. So all of these things are meant to respond to the job deficit that we have in this country. And I think that once that is implemented, we will change the game. Yes, all said and all well and good. But one thing that keeps bothering my mind, I keep wondering about is the industries that we are going to be generated. Obviously, with the 24-hour economy, God willing, with the success of this, many job avenues are going to be created. But we have a situation in this country where you have cheap goods coming in, so that the goods that are coming in are cheaper than what we produce here. And our people who produce don't have that low-cost subventions and so forth to produce as cheap in order to compete with those that are imported. Are there any policy hacks within these 24-hour economy and so forth to protect our people, to make sure they're able to compete in the way they work? Yes, indeed. If you had President-elect, I think last week also, he indicated that. I mentioned earlier that government is the biggest source of procurement in the country. Now, under this program, the procurement processes by government, and according to the President, he mentioned that on radio, so we all heard that on TV as well. The procurement will be directed at buying of the goods that we produced by those manufacturing entities that we would increase their output and their productivity. So even if the costs of those goods are slightly higher than that of the imported goods, the President-elect has indicated that he would do that to ensure that the jobs that will be created for Ghanaians, rather than buying cheap goods and creating jobs in other countries. So he has said that publicly, and of course we know that once he's said that, he has made a very strong policy statement. Now, there are other aspects of that which would involve limiting the types of goods that come in. Yes, there are WTO rules, there's the AFTA rules, that you have to open your market for things to come in, but there are also openings for you to restrict the importation of certain items that can be provided, that can be manufactured locally. Now, what you do as a government is to provide incentives and probably even some tax reliefs for your people so that you can progressively reduce their cost of production and make their goods cheaper on the market and more competitive on their own market, in their local market, than leaving it open for people to import low quality goods which are cheaper. And then they would render your local production units uncompetitive. So those are what in economics they call infant industry protection. We need to introduce some of those things. Once you begin, and then you also begin import substitution, so that you can then prevent some of those things being dumped on your markets. So there are different approaches, and they've been captured well in the transformative manifesto for Ghana. It's not only a manifesto, it's a actually development blueprint for Ghana. Yes, thanks a lot. And there are other issues that maybe will not fit into core social democracy portrayal of policy. Such as? But everybody has talked about the packing of the costs such that even the issues that the constitutions have plainly stated, the cost will say it's not the way it is written there. You see, and people expect something to be done about it, so that and it's suspected that because the costs were packed by the present FPP government, they are expected to toe the line of FPP activities and their standpoints. And people are expected to, do something about it. The FPP coming and this government. I don't know, maybe some other time we shall go. Yeah. On that one, our president-elect has spoken about it as this governance, stakeholder engagement, and said that, indeed, we'll be working with the courts to ensure that there's fairness in the administration of justice. I think for that one, we can leave it here for now, because otherwise you'll be straying into an area where people will think that, if the current president, the NPP the president, it's not a Ghanaian president, he's an NPP president. If he packed the courts and then you also come and pack the courts, then what's the difference? But there are ways that it can be done to improve the performance of the courts. That is reserved for the president and his appointees who will be handling that as well. Yeah. What about this
Operation Recover or Loot?
No, I believe that would be within the scope of justice and
accountability.
Yes. But now I want to ask about this: the fact that Ghana is actually broke. Even Kofi Brookman is more broke than Kofi Brookman. And how do you think we're going to get resources to do some of these things and even go ahead to do submissions?
Yeah, well, in fact, again, the flag bearer has mentioned that you'll be looking at, if you remember, he made a statement, he actually did a presentation at UPSA when he began the Ghana we want, building the Ghana we want together. He made a very, very elaborate speech about looking at alternative sources of revenue. And indeed, they are viable sources. And so maybe, as you said, at another time we can go into the detail of that one. But Operation Recover or Loot is one of the ways of recovering the looted resources. But he's also talked about downsizing government, because the expenditure on a huge government drains public resources. Once you do that, you are saving additional resources to improve the conditions of living. Now, we are into an IMF program, and indeed, there are
there are some conditions under those ones. Once, I think there is also the position that some of it can be renegotiated to free some resources, or some of the requirements involve imposition of certain taxes, etc. But that's something that the president would do at the National Economic Forum, would do after the National Economic Forum has been held in the 120 days and the recommendations are made. Definitely, there's also goodwill out there. There are probably, we need to go back into the market and see what can be secured for improving the conditions, and of course renegotiating some of the conditions of payment and that. But those are things that would definitely come out of the economic dialogue that will be held within the next coming weeks or months. Yeah, but then lastly, what are we going to do to kind of do a watchdog activity, checking on our own NDC government to see that it is operating along the lines of our social democratic principles, and then carrying out progressively the lofty ideas of improving the living standards and providing the jobs and projects of 24-hour economies and youth employment. What are we going to do to keep watch over our own government to see that we are actually doing what we are supposed to be doing? We are promising the people. Yeah, you may have also heard that the president at that interaction said that he was going to chair the National Governance Advisory Committee himself. What that committee is going to do, will be doing, would involve holding office holders, ministers, office holders accountable for the discharge of their responsibilities, and it will come in the form of KPIs, performance indicators, that will be measured every year. And so I think that is what he is saying essentially, is that initially when you are appointed, you go through orientation as to what the government had committed to do, what his government has committed to do. And your performance will be measured at the end of every year, an annual progress report of the kind that was being done under the National Development Planning Commission, so that clearly your report will be put in front of you as to whether you have met your KPIs. If you haven't, then you better advise yourself, because that's a commitment, that's a social contract that is reaching with the people of Ghana. And the only way that contract, the terms of the contract will be fulfilled, will be for the appointees to work according to what they are expected to do. Otherwise, we will become a victim of our own actions. We don't want to do that. We want to build trust in the government, and so those are things that will be done during his tenure. Yes, but an outfit that is presided by the president, that has oversight of his own ministers, how are we going to trust them? No, ordinarily do I say you are from the same camp, you're wearing the same jersey. Oh, they had, okay. So what about something said by NDC sympathizers, ordinary folks who are monitoring, or even the Institute of Social Democracy itself, discussing matters and then observing and making recommendations and marking its own KPIs and so forth? No, there are civil society groups within the NDCs. In fact, Development Challenge, where we sit here, Development Challenge is one of them. There's a one chaired by Professor Danso Boafo, the lab, which I'm a member of. We do a lot of review of our policies outside government, and that's going to happen. There are others that civil society groups within the NDC and affiliated to the NDC who are also going to be tracking. We have affiliated political parties that would also be watching the way we do things. What we want to do is that we don't want to wait till the end of the tenure to go and seek accountability from the people. Inter-election periods also provide opportunities for accountability. And as I mentioned earlier, there are a number of things that will be done, that ought to be done, that would ensure that we are demonstrating fidelity to our own core values of ensuring that we are responsive to the needs of the people. We are providing inclusive governance. That means that people will be privy to the processes of decision making, but also the availability or the constraints of resources for achieving those things. The expectations are high. We have to manage the expectations, but we don't also want to give an indication that we are not capable of responding to the expectations. So those are things that we can do as a political party to hold our own party to account. The party itself is there, and there are the National Executive Committee, there's the National Functional Executive Committee that meets regularly and reviews government programs. It can also hold the government to account, because it's made up of executives from all parts of the country. And indeed, when we were putting the manifesto together, we had to work with all of them to get the inputs. So the inputs represent what the people said through them. And so they also have the responsibility to ensure that government responds to those things as well. Yes, I think we've had so much, and we are going to end here, but soon come back to start going through the foundational steps of social democracy, since you are the head embodiment of social democracy. Yes, so that we keep refreshing the memories of our people, what we stand for, what the principles of our political party, and all that goes with it. We're taking specific social examples so that we can understand the principles more and more in a practical manner. Yes, and thank you very much for this opportunity that we've been looking for, because we need to continue the political education, and we need to break it down to the level of the ordinary person, and indeed we need to ensure that all of us are basically singing from the same hymn sheet. Now, as an institute, we have been constrained in terms of resources, but let me take the opportunity to thank President-elect for sponsoring the orientation of all the constituency executives across the country and all the regional executives across the country. It has been very impactful to the extent that it is one of the reasons why the elections have been this successful, because included in that orientation was the issue about elections management, and we actually brought the attention of the executives to the role that they have to play to ensure that our votes are protected and to ensure that the campaign has been done in a retail manner. And so the party school extends its gratitude to the President-elect for supporting that and giving us the opportunity to share the understanding of social democracy and how it impacts our work. We are looking forward to doing that. The chairman has promised that we will now that we are in power, we are going to build a brick and mortar campus of the party school to allow us to share more knowledge. So we don't wait till there is elections before. So you can go to the party school and acquire knowledge, and then you can be part of the process of governing Ghana in accordance with social democratic principles. Yes, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been getting very insightful education from Dr. William Ahaji, the head of the
Ghana Institute of Social Democracy.
Ghana Institute of Social Democracy. I mean, all that NDC as a political party rides on. And we hope to be getting more and more on a regular basis. Our own principles being taught to us. So we shall stand and know what we are about. Thank you, Dr. Hadi, for being with United CADRES Front TV.
Thank you very much. And just to remind you that I was also a CADA in the early revolutionary days.
And once a CADA,
always a CADA.
And once the CADRES are on board, I believe it's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
And it shall never be the same again. Thank you and see you soon.
Thank you.
Committing themselves to civil rights, the new government.
The battle has ended.
Good morning.
1969.
This Missionary Charter is not only a guide to those who lead our nation in government. On notice, Lieutenant General Joseph Ekwofo.
Public in an attempt to make scapegoats of Rawlings and his men.
For the first time in Ghana, a group of junior army officers had attempted to
country. After 3 months, they handed over to a civilian government under Hilal Liman.
I will set the appropriate examples myself from France. Big Parliament dissolved. See,
Error has come into being in this country. Supposed to be 24.
Of the free maternity care for our women. Late President knew was a good job.
And so reconstruction and destruction are two different things altogether. That means that it will take a lot more time for us to be able even to stabilize the situation and then to build upon the situation. It will also need a massive infusion of financial resources, which we don't have. But our flag bearer and the team that we'll be working with, I believe, are very resourceful. And we were there in 2012, when we came into office. Our president worked for less than 4 years. About three years and 4 months or so, because the court case took the better part of the first year. But within those 3 years, what he was able to do is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. We've never seen a style before, except perhaps during the Nkrumah regime or during the early stages of the PNDC when Jerry, our former president, Jerry John Rawlings, had to stabilize the situation again for our economic takeoff. Now, to do this thing, I believe the NDC is capable, but we need to look at a couple of things. One, we need a moral revolution. The president-elect talked about resetting the economy. We also need to reset the minds of people. Comrade, they don't have an option. When you join a group, you go by the tenets of that group, or you fall out. The president-elect himself said it. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be business as usual. Okay. Now, if you recall, when His Excellency Jamal was in power, 2012 to 2016, he named and shamed. He punished his own people for wrongdoing. We've never seen it before. And so this time around, the policy is very simple. And you know, in the last 8 years, something has helped the NDC a lot, which is social media. Nothing is hidden for long. You do the wrong thing, the next day it's out there in the public space. Okay? So once it comes out in the public space, the president will be very quick to react to it. And so when 2-3 people are punished for wrongdoing, the others will fall into place quickly. You either do that or you are booted out. So it is the whole issue is for us to be fair, to do the right thing, to punish wrongdoing, to reward good work and hard work and honesty and truthfulness. And very soon people will see that, hey, this NDC is a new NDC, it's not business as usual. And so reconstruction and destruction are two different things altogether. That means that it will take a lot more time for us to be able even to stabilize the situation and then to build upon the situation. It will also need a massive infusion of financial resources, which we don't have. But our flag bearer and the team that we'll be working with, I believe, are very resourceful. And we were there in 2012, when we came into office. Our president worked for less than 4 years, about 3 years and 4 months or so, because the court case took the better part of the first year. But within those 3 years, what he was able to do is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. We've never seen a style before, except perhaps during the Nkrumah regime or during the early stages of the PNDC when Jerry, our former president, Jerry John Rawlings, had to stabilize the situation again for our economic takeoff. Now, to do this thing, I believe the NDC is capable, but we need to look at a couple of things. One, we need a moral revolution. The president-elect talked about resetting the economy. We also need to reset the minds of people. Comrade, they don't have an option. When you join a group, you go by the tenets of that group, or you fall out. The president-elect himself said it. It's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be business as usual. Okay. Now, if you recall, when His Excellency Jamal was in power, 2012 to 2016, he named and shamed. He punished his own people for wrongdoing. We've never seen it before. And so this time around, the policy is very simple. And you know, in the last 8 years, something has helped the NDC a lot, which is social media. Nothing is hidden for long. You do the wrong thing, the next day it's out there in the public space. Okay? So once it comes out in the public space, the president will be very quick to react to it. And so when 2-3 people are punished for wrongdoing, the others will fall into place quickly. You either do that or you are booted out. So it is the whole issue is for us to be fair, to do the right thing, to punish wrongdoing, to reward good work and hard work and honesty and truthfulness. And very soon people will see that, hey, this NDC is a new NDC way. It's not business as usual.
Committing themselves to civil rights, the new government.
The battle has ended.
Good morning.
1969. This Mary Charter is not only a guide to those who lead our nation in government. That notice, Lieutenant General Choro Ekofo.
Public in an attempt to make scapegoats of Rawlings and his men.
For the first time in Ghana, a group of junior army officers had attempted to
country. After 3 months, they handed over to a civilian government under Hilal Liman.
I will set the appropriate examples myself from C. Parliament dissolved. C.
Error has come into being in this country. Supposed to be 24.
Of the free maternity care for our women. Late President knew those occasions would jab at
Committing themselves to civil rights, the new government.